Welcome back to the HRX placement stages, working our way towards DreamHack Atlanta. Finch here, joined by J-Mac Tucker. Got Taco with me as well. And we just saw Space Station, a very strong set, move on in the upper bracket. That means the winner of this next matchup will be going to join them, rival up against CLG. And Taco, I think this has all the makings to be a very good set.
It could quite possibly end up being the closest set of today. I think that CLG looked really clean up against their match with Atletico, but that was the Oceanic International matchup. This one should be a much better telling of where exactly North America might actually stand with the rest of these European teams.
Yeah, both of those teams kind of had their matchup against the what you consider the lower end of the competition there, but this time it's kind of for all the marbles here of the NAEU. Both of them kind of having similar stories going up into this LAN of them not quite performing online, but having a decent showing in their first matches of LAN. This is really where it's going to come down.
Yeah, this is a big one. It's not going to be the end for either one of these teams. They'll still be able to drop down into the lower bracket. I actually believe they'll be dropping down to play Nocturne, whoever ends up dropping in this game. So they still have a chance. But I do want to hear a little bit about how CLG are feeling going into this very important match. I believe fineokay standing by for the interview.
I'm here with fineokay, solo laner for CLG. Fine, how you feeling going up against Rival? Are you going to do it to him?
We're planning on doing it to him. You know, Rival's a good team, but we've been practicing a lot, especially with Mask, and we're feeling good about it, so, yeah.
How has it been for you with Mask on the team? You know, you're probably with him a lot on the right side of the map. Has it been a hard adjustment for you?
At first, we were kind of on two different pages some of the time, but we've gotten used to each other playing a lot better over the course of this month, and I'm really excited to play with Mask because I think he's one of the best junglers in the world. So
the fall split and kind of all of Season 5, the solo lane has been there, but not the premier lane. But I think at this LAN, a lot of solo laners really stepped up and made big impacts. Do you feel like that's just something that's happening at this LAN? Do you think now that we're playing the top-end competition, we'll see it go back to how it was? Or do you feel like you can be a real impact player here?
Yeah, I think especially at LAN, people play a little bit slower, so it gets the solo laners to their late game potential, and that's kind of what you have to do right now. So I think at this LAN, we'll have more of an impact in the solo lane. So,
all right, man. Good luck in your matches. Excited to see what you do. Back to you guys on the desk.
Another good interview there with fineokay, solo laner for CLG. Always good to get to hear from him. And it sounds like they have some confidence. You know, this is a team that did have some adjustments. You know, they decided not to go with Homie. They've got Mass there in the jungle with them instead. It's a team with a ton of talent, but the question's always been, why doesn't this team perform better?
I think that one big thing that might be, maybe it's not really my place to say, but it seems like it has probably been a little bit of an issue here with CLG. It never really felt like they were super confident in a lot of their calls throughout the regular season. It always kind of seemed like there was that hesitation factor coming into play, and I do feel like communication is really critical once you get to this level of competition, and that's something that if you know these guys on CLG, yes, there's a lot of name power behind them, but as far as being super vocal, that's a completely different story. Outside of maybe fineokay, I don't really see anybody on this team that would ever really step up and be the dedicated shot caller. Even when they had homie Wlfy on the squad, I think that that's still just too relatively quiet by nature. And so with the addition of Mask is somebody who's going to make those decisions.
Absolutely.
And I think that's exactly what CLG needed.
I think that's the big key here, is having a secondary shot caller. Homie Wlfy not really stepping up into it, and I think you mentioned there fineokay is definitely one of the big shot callers, and he's one of the more vocal really of this team in general, whether it's on social media, on Twitch, wherever he is. He's always trying to put out as much information as he can. He's definitely one of the more content creative solo laners that we have out there for North American scene. Seeing him go up here against Deathwalker is really going to be a treat of a match.
No, it's definitely going to be interesting to try and follow along with that one. I'm right there with you. But it's tough, isn't it? Because there's so many areas that you want to make sure you're following along with on CLG in particular, because, you know, you got to look and see what Mask is going to be doing next, right? Snoopy, talk poop, get snooped is a thing for a reason. Why you'll catch the hands. So there's a lot of threads to try and follow. Their opponents on the other side, though, going to try and make life pretty difficult. Let's go over to Alpha Jackal and see what their plan is here up against CLG.
All right, I'm standing by now with Alpha Jackal, coach of Rival. AJ, how are you guys feeling on going up against CLG?
We're feeling confident. We've got an idea of what we want to do today. We think we know what they're going to be picking, so we're feeling good.
How different have they looked to you since the addition of Masked?
They've looked completely different. There's still some similarities, especially in the duo lane, but outside of that, they have transformed. They have started to play around them a bit more, and they've looked like a new team.
Is this the LAN rival that everyone was waiting for? Have you guys hit your full capacity yet?
Remains to be seen.
All right, man. Good luck against CLG. We'll see if they can hit full capacity right away. Throw it back to the desk.
Thanks, Aggro. And that's just Alpha Jackal there for Coach Rival. He's a little bit more focused on making sure they're ready for the game maybe than the interview right now. But he makes a good point, right? Rival have been kind of struggling a little bit in the fall split just by Rival standards because they're always so good, right? So this LAN is important for them to be able to get back to that stance where we all know they can be.
I was actually picking the brains of the Rival guys during that SSG SK set, and something that I thought was really interesting that they brought up is that they agree entirely. You know, they didn't really feel like they were completely on the same page with each other throughout some parts of the regular season, but when it comes to the LAN environment, it just brings in a whole new level of confidence for these guys because they just know for a fact they've performed consistently in the past on LAN.
Yeah.
Sure, the last one might have been a little bit of a doozy, but they've got their symbol now, Alpha Jackal, back with the guys, and I do think that it's going to make an impact here.
As much as sometimes people think that the coach isn't as 100% necessary, I really think for this team, their coach is what really brings them together. He's really the big brains of this team, has a lot of compositions and a lot of theories in here that the rest of the players don't always necessarily think of.
And we've been super critical of Wlfy all throughout the Season 5 because I do think that there has been a lot of inconsistency that has come out of Rival's mid laner here. But Wlfy knows it. He knows what everybody has been saying about him and some of the blame that he's been forced to undertake. And I think something that is really cool about this squad is that if you ask anybody else from Rival, they'll go against that 100%. And they're not on that same page. And they truly believe that any loss that comes is credited to the faults of the entire team. And I think that when you have 4 of the members that are so willing to back up their mid laner despite what it might look like to the public eye, then that just goes to show that this is a team that's willing to stick together through anything.
And that's been Rival's greatest strength is their teamwork, right? I mean, they're a team full of individual stars. I mean, they've got a lot of strong players. Deathwalker comes to mind, right? But their greatest strength is their individual, is their teamwork play. But if you did have to bring it out an individual, it feels like it probably would be Deathwalker over there in the solo lane. And his matchup up against fineokay in particular is going to be really important as Hurry is giving us a normal Hurriwind look, by the way. That's just him. But that solo lane matchup is so important. We talked about how Fine can be one of the shot callers for CLG, how vocal he is. Well, Deathwalker is, it feels like one of the big carry players for that team. Whoever comes out on that top of that matchup could very easily just determine who wins the game.
Yeah, fineokay might have his hands full if he's planning on trying to just hard pressure out Deathwalker. I think that Deathwalker probably one of the better suited solo laners for understanding how to properly mitigate that level of aggression from others. I almost want to see Mass try and cater a little bit more towards the duo lane in this matchup because Collis, if anything, has felt like a superstar for this Rival squad.
Deathwalker, I mean, him versus fineokay, it's 2 of the biggest minds of the solo lane in their respective regions going head-to-head here. Both of these players have a large god pool to flex around. Both of them can really... Our role players is probably one of the best ways to describe both of them, but Deathwalker for sure one of the harder carries for his team.
It definitely can feel that way at times. And Taco, I like what you're alluding to, right? That Collis has stepped up recently and started to make some big-time plays. I think in fall there's been maybe some drop as he's gotten more attention. Teams are recognizing, I think, that he can be a centerpiece of this team as well. But you're right, especially on lands, you know, when he gets Athena's, Fafnir's, those sort of come to mind, right? He can absolutely turn the tide to fights single-handedly. So that's just one more on this Rival team, one more head of the dragon that you have to worry about if you want to try and take this team down. And CLG with the first pick selection, we'll see if they're up to the task. Game 1 about to get underway. Taco, anything in particular that you're keeping your eye on here in these picks and bans?
No Mercury. I mean, right in the middle of saying it, I think it still counts. Rival cannot stand dealing with Mercury. No real surprises here to see them strip away that ban. I like this from CLG, though. Banning the Odin, it always just puts the idea into your opponent's head. Are they going to go for some kind of healer composition? Are they looking for a lot of immobile gods here? And it can sort of just threaten Rival's original game plan. Whatever that game plan might have been, we never really know what AJ's got cooking up his sleeve.
I wouldn't be surprised to see either an Erlang or a Pele ban here, but it very well could just be a shot at the support as well. But there are so many gods up for grabs here, so many options for both of these teams to ban. I'm imagining it's going to be one of the jungle bans here, but they could opt to leave both of them open so that way Rival could grab the one that's left.
That's right. If they want to go with like maybe a Terra ban or something like that, that could potentially leave both those junglers open if they want to try and prioritize it. We've even seen some hunters get banned in this slot, so there's a lot of options available, and Rival will indeed take away that Terra. So now it's kind of up to CLG to pick where they want to go here. You know, do they want to grab Pele, Baron, Athena, you know, with his leftover slots?
I think Athena would probably be the smart move here from CLG if they're planning on just trying to keep picks away from Rival. I personally do not want to have to play against Collis if he has Athena in
Absolutely
his hands.
not.
And CLG also could go in a completely different direction, though, and just look to prioritize a heavy pressure pick for Mask. With this Erlang hover, I am almost expecting, if Erlang does get locked in here, for Rival to respond with Athena Pele.
I wouldn't be surprised at all to see that as the response here. They really don't have anything to lose by picking up those two gods, but Pele hasn't always been grabbed immediately after the Erlang after the Erlang and Mercury are kind of taken off the table. Pele hasn't always been the snap pick. We've seen Bakasura, we saw earlier Arachne was picked up, and Jing has become a real top priority as of recent.
She's just so safe, and the survivability aspects are really the main reason why so many teams have started being drawn towards her. Plus, having that agility dash away from the Erlang Shen turtle knockup guarantees that at least your hunter is going to be able to survive that early aggression. But the Athena paired alongside of it, one of them had to come through.
You know, this is scary now for CLG. We talked about it. Giving this Athena over to Collis really can feel like one of those things that can kind of put the game out of reach. He's so strong on it, able to always find multiple members when he's starting off those initiations. Seems to time the Defender of Olympus so well. And you highlighted already, Jing so safe, particularly from that Erlang knockup, and then the airstrike to get away as well. Rival kind of knocked out of the park with these first two picks, but there's still plenty of value left on the board, right? If they want to try and, you know, get something strong into the hands of maybe Snoopy and try and pick a priority hunter here, or maybe even prioritize a mage for Hurriwind, there's still plenty of options.
The best part, though, about Rival solidifying their dual lane so early on is just that they'll be able to see the next two picks from CLG. Having 3 picks revealed from CLG is kind of a little bit of insight towards what direction their composition might be headed in, if they're looking for individual picks, if they're looking for space control / denial, or if they're maybe trying to just completely take over all pressure in the jungle play. And Artio Chernobog seems like a good way to be headed.
Artio for sure. That's probably one of the first gods I was thinking right after this Athena Jing. Artio works so well up against them, and I kind of think a lot of people forgot that Chernobog exists, and instead of being a last pick like we've seen so many times, or a no pick at all, CLG is going to grab that one.
Yeah, where's my boy been? He's still pretty good. Chernobog coming through for CLG. And this one's still a bit flex. It could certainly go into the middle lane as well, though Snoopy could pilot it pretty well in the hunter role too, as Baron comes through for Team Rival. So a nice strong 2 picks in response from CLG by snatching up this turn.
Chernobog has kind of fallen out of favor with a lot of the pros simply because of the fact that his auto attacks can be a little inconsistent. He's difficult to keep track of, and I brought it up the other day, but it's just when you're strafing in one direction, say you're strafing to the left with Chernobog, having your auto attacks show that they're going from left and right, going outwards, but still falling to the right-hand side, can be really confusing in team fights, and I think that's one of the main reasons why some other hunters have tended to stray away from him and go for more consistent picks like the Jing, like the Apollos.
We saw him band away consistently in the first set. He's going to be picked up here by Rival. Baron Samedi going most likely over into the hands of Deathwalker, and that is a scary combination.
Absolutely is. Baron, Athena, and Jing all pulled in together, and that's a lot of cone to try and get away from if you count the taunt, as well as the life of the party coming out from Baron. But if you look down at our band, Rival turning some eyes towards the support. They're not sold that the Artio or Erlang will be over there in the dual lane. They want to take out this Geb and not leave that option available for CLG. And the Kuzumbo still eyeing towards some of these Guardians here in this second ban phase.
Kuzumbo was a really smart ban away choice, though, because of fineokay. Fineokay, probably one of the more go-to picks for him lately has been this Kuzumbo selection. Pele will end up being removed, though, a little bit later than what we might have expected here, but that does take away what might have been a really solid damage option for Rival.
Now it's going to go back to them. They have the option for the pick, and I agree with you. The Kuzenbo for fineokay, getting that one away from him is such a good one, but also just because of the amount of damage that he can return back with those shell spikes, and even if he picks up a Thorns later on, you're looking at a lot of damage over time that's really going to stack up and really get into the pass of the shell spikes, lowering those cooldowns of his Nene Kappa, of his Sumo Slam, and just make him a really obnoxious Guardian in that solo lane.
I didn't get a chance to say it, but I was waiting for it to happen here. The Poseidon for Wlfy. It just goes hand in hand when you're rival. You see Athena on the board, you see a Baron on the board, and what better way to assist both of those control aspects than to bring in the Whirlpool Cripple. Now, there is some positioning concerns here because Erlang Shen, I think, still has a very viable option of just blinking in onto this Poseidon, knocking him up, and dealing too much damage before he can even get the Whirlpool cracking at his feet. But as long as Wlfy has really sound map awareness and plays this around the rest of his teammates, I think he'll be able to stay alive no problem.
Yeah, absolutely can. Rival with a ton of history behind this Poseidon pick, even going back to Worlds of last year, and they keep going back to it. They trust in this pick. And even at a time when we haven't seen as many of these sort of all-in burst mages, even Discordia doesn't feel quite the same as this one big ultimate that could, often get Aegis away. So Rival trusting it. That means CLG gonna have to make sure they're even hotter than normal on those Aegis reactions and making sure they're able to get away from this damage.
And it also means that they can't really heavily rely on too many more mobility-based gods because Poseidon is just going to shut them down. And it is going to bring up the question, do you get beads or do you get Aegis? If you don't get beads, Athena taunts you and you won't have enough time for the Aegis.
Yeah.
But if you go with the beads, then you're not going to be able to survive the damage afterward.
I'm thinking about maybe a Morgan for Hurriwind. I want to see it, but it seems that CLG have other intentions here with this Nox. Big silence, big space control, and I think we kind of figured it out exactly what CLG are going to be gearing almost everything towards. It's just playing around the Nox silences.
That's exactly what it is. They have this composition that has, these control tools now available between the Artio, between this Nox to try and lock down targets, and then Chernobog and Erlang Shen, you can kind of rip away at them once they do. But Rival hovering over Cirquet. We haven't gotten to see much of her lately, but
No.
Ice certainly could pick it up.
There's no chance he's going to opt for the Circuit into the Nox. That's practically suicide. Nox, there's not very many hard counter matchups in Smite, but Nox is definitely one of them for Circuit, and I think that even for iceicebaby, as talented as he is, that would just be way too problematic to want to really deal with. It's just a heavy frustration factor because every part of Circuit's kit that you would need immediately shut down because of the silence and the roots.
It's Bakasura for the last pick here for Rival. Going to be going to Ice. Yeah. I personally like it up here against the Nox. You don't have to worry too much about the cripple because you can drop your ultimate, and so as soon as the silence drops and then the cripple afterward, you're going to have the CC immunity from it. You'll be able to rush her down. You just have to hope that somebody's not there with the Nox so she can use her dash and get right in and get out to safety.
CLG maybe showing some picks you don't normally get to see, but Rival with a very strong draft, and a very Rival draft, I would say, as well, with the Poseidon, with the Baron, the Athena. All these picks at Rival have already shown us they have quite a lot of strong potential, so it kind of feels like the onus is on CLG to show us this Nox, this Wukong we haven't talked much about, that can get it done.
Nox has some pretty intense scaling for a lot of her abilities, and I think North America, there's always been a little bit of rumbles behind the scenes of Nox being a sleeper pick. I'm right there with them. Her damage can really start to work up there, especially with that ultimate, and being able to prevent the enemy team from having the same level of damage output could pose a lot of issues here for this Athena Poseidon setup thought process.
The ult is really the big factor for Nox, especially against the Poseidon. A lot of Poseidon's namesake, while it is the Whirlpool that helps out with the cripple, the ultimate is the big thing. If you can prevent the damage of that Kraken, Poseidon is essentially just nothing much after that, and then having all of the CC to Nox's name with that and the high scaling is going to make her a real strong pick.
Well, a lot of flavor coming through from CLG. Can they make this Nox Sun Wukong work, or will Rival with some of their comfort picks be able to take them down? Game one, perhaps the closest one of the day, about to get underway. Casters, take it away.
Thank you so much, Bench Taco and J-Mac on the desk. This is the game I have been waiting for all day. CLG up against Rival. Two teams that on paper have fantastic rosters, but their seasons have been anything but fantastic.
Yeah, CLG having to switch up their jungler after Wlfy swapped out with Mask. Seems to be okay so far, still in the upper bracket. Rival not having the success that they're known for, considering they were the second place team in Season 4 Worlds. Slowed down a little bit after the spring split where they won, up against Energy in the summertime, and the fall was just anything but as they finished 4th in Europe.
Totally, I'm looking at these comps and I'm already like, I wish, if I was playing in this game, I wish I could get 2 sets of beads. There is that much control that both these teams bring.
It's insane if you look at it all across the board. I'm really worried more for Rival, honestly, because
Really?
Hurriwind on the Nox, Jigz is going to provide control here in Cripple, like a soft form of CC on top of the stun that he's going to do. You got 2 knockups from both Mask and fineokay. Don't forget that Mask is also going to be able to root you in place, and Taunt is just all over the place for CLG.
Now, Nox, granted, is one of the strongest forms of CC with that amazing root cripple and the silence pool of death, of course. Problem is, though, it's skill shot dependent. Like, you've got to make sure you land the combo to really deal damage as a Nox.
And as an iceicebaby's playing Bakasura, he's going to have a lot of mobility, so
Yeah.
it's going to be even trickier to hit iceicebaby. But he could get set up, though. It's not up to Hurriwind to hit his abilities. I think it'll be a lot easier if Jigz just walks up or, you know, dashes forward on the Artio, gets the stun off, and then Hurriwind can follow up.
Hurriwind taking the dash there at level 2, actually showing that he took the dash as well, interestingly enough. But so far, both teams being relatively respectful in this early game. No crazy shenanigans in terms of invades, both teams just focusing on their purples and their reds on the left-hand side, and the junglers now joining the mid lanes.
And the reason why he got the dash level 2 is because looking at Rival's composition, they're not going to be playing aggressive. They don't have to worry about looking for kills or for self-peel in the root, but it also just goes to show CL just trying to play Rival's game with the late game focus, trying to go for the early farm, not miss out on any single minions.
Definitely one combination with Erlang, Shen, and Nox, but hold that thought, Boat in trouble, and Wlfy a little bit in that mid lane. iceicebaby going to use those Butcher Blades to push back CLG. And in the dual lane, Jigz eats a bit of poke, as did Vote, so that'll even things out in terms of potions for now.
Still only level 2 was Hurriwind at the time, so he didn't have his root after the knockup that Mask was able to get off there, counting his lucky stars as Wlfy was able to go back into the safety of his own tier 1 tower. CLG, though, looking to play aggressive on all fronts, honestly.
Well, I mean, the dual lane is definitely going to have an advantage with a Chernobog up against a Jing in the early game. First few levels, the wave clear with the addition of Artio definitely a little bit more impactful, but that'll stagnate out a little bit more so as the game goes on.
Yeah, Jigz playing the Artio, looking to play very aggressive. Snoopy, though, is going to receive a good amount of poke there, as Jigz wasn't able to really absorb those basic attacks as he was on the left side of the lane. Snoopy was on the right.
We did mention the Nox in the mid lane, and the one thing we've not talked about is the Erlang Shen combination with that Nox too. One pin really sets up an easy silence root combination, so the burst damage is definitely available if Mask is on point with these pins to the ground.
You could look for a pin, or you could just look up for a blink turtle knockup right off the bat, and once you get knocked up, that's plenty of time for Hurriwind to drop the whole combo.
So that's the real game for Hurriwind then, is to trust in his jungler this game, right? And allow him to do the setup.
Or Jigz. Honestly, Jigz can get in the thick of things as well. Whether or not he goes to blink, I think that Hurriwind is just going to be very patient on trying to get off the setup. Or instead of looking to follow up, knowing that iceicebaby might be looking to play it in the backline, just kind of save those abilities on the Nox for self-peel.
And we've seen a lot out of the dash from a Nox as well. That Shadow Step will be pretty effective, actually, using the fact he could go into Erlang Shen, go into a Sun Wukong, or even an Artio in a tricky situation and provide a little bit more damage, where that ability most of the time is used defensively.
That's true. You're trying to escape the danger as opposed to approach it, but keep in mind this ability hits twice when you use it, and it does a lot of damage, going from 70 at rank 1 all the way up to 230 with 70% scaling. So at level 20, you're dealing, what, 460 damage with 140% scaling if you could dash through an opponent, go into your ally, and then detonate it instantly. And that's possible knowing how aggressive Mask is going to be.
Dashing from Callus again, looking to keep Snoopy and Jigz back, and this is where the lane is starting to push back into Rival's favor now, just because they got a bit more clear on land and being quite respectful of Callus, who's hit that level 5, and with that level 5, Athena becomes a global problem.
This is where soul laners need to keep that presence in the back of their mind. fineokay, if he ever uses his Ox form or Tiger Stun for either a lane clear or a poke, he's going to be asking for a bad time. Trading Defender of Olympus for the Wukong ultimate could be useful.
One of the reasons I do like the pickup of Chernobog this game as well, though, because it does answer some of that global presence from an Athena. Yeah, it's not going to be the same sort of utility coming to that fight, but damage instead of defense, right? That's the option.
Going to provide the slow as well onto all the members, a satellite global vision for Snoopy to call out for his teammates and being able to reset the dash for defensive purposes.
iceicebaby in the jungle on the Bakasura. I've seen a couple of games of this so far. Pretty much we've seen quite a lot of golden blades in the jungle throughout the year. Mainly none of the likes of Erlang Shen, but most of the assassin-based junglers have been going for it, including Bakasura sometimes.
I don't think Baka actually even needs that kind of
I don't think anyone really
lane clear. I mean, Mercury doesn't need it either, but hey, it's always nice to be able to drop your made you look on a jungle camp, hit it once, and then be moving on with the rest of your life. But I think Bakasura needs to get those minion kills to be able to get the attack speed, the movement speed from the passive to move from point A to point B. And when you're getting that much mobility from your passive anyway, you need to start worrying about overstacking in the attack speed category.
6 minutes in the game almost now, and this is kind of going as I've expected in the very start of this. No crazy shenanigans. Every team looking for a window of opportunity and not trying to force it open more often than not. But in saying that, Rival do have a 400 gold lead so far, and that is just literally superior farming.
It might be because of all these neutral mid-Harpy camps, getting the left side mid camps, taunt onto Mask, follow-up. Wow, Hurriwind using that ultimate very early.
Beats down from Mask 2, but there's a taunt onto Callus. The Kraken comes out. Didn't really do enough to Jigz to cause a problem. However, the minions of a Bakasura will chop down and pick up the kill. Wlfy credited with it, but fineokay has made a rotation. Has plenty of mana, but has he got the damage to cause the problems? Callus rooted and crippled in place. Hurriwind answers back the death of his support.
The root into the double root as well. fineokay soaking up those abilities like a sponge. Deathwalker not being present in that last team fight really could have been more favorable for Rival, but still, that first blood bounty going to Wlfy now.
We talk about some Wukong quite often, and you don't see every so often, but when he can get a bit of pressure in the lane and get a bit of freeform, the rotations with the 72 transformations are very quick.
Oh, absolutely. That Eagle Crow form transformation creates so much of a gap closer, and you don't need to necessarily use that always for damage purposes. Just getting into the mid lane was important to at least get a return kill.
The Canadian versus the Scot, and both of them going at it. Both won't give up a fight any time of the week. Uses the airstrike down, but won't continue the aggression, realizing that he won't have any further follow-up, and Snoopy's abilities will come up. Let's take a quick look back, if we can, at that respawn first blood.
This is what happened when Callus goes in, finds a nice little taunt. Wlfy's damage was severely hindered by the ultimate from Hurriwind. That's why Jigz was able to survive for so long.
Just the cripple field causing too many problems. Not just the Whirlpool, but those minions from Bakasura's regurgitate too. Red buff on the left-hand side was dropped down there. I believe that was stolen away by Rival while we were looking at that replay. It is still on the ground, and CLG will not be picking that one up. But look at this ward coverage, Toli. It's like a Christmas tree.
Oh, absolutely. Especially on the right side of the map this early, 8 minutes in. It definitely shows that Deathwalker is worried about Mask making this rotation. And normally, it's not likely that a jungler is looking to gank the soul lane without a blink, because you can just kind of tell that he's coming if you're going to be able to hug the opposite side of the wall, but better safe than sorry. This is why Deathwalker's just been quietly farming, and now with the Breastplate of Valor, he's almost unkillable, honestly.
Could cause some problems for them, but like you said, just been focusing on that farm. Wlfy in the mid lane, meanwhile, not going for a stacking item so far. He went fully into the penetration boost, and then even more penetration with the Spear of the Magus.
It makes sense if you're looking for 5-on-5 team fights. I think Deathwalker is going to provide a little bit of damage on top, so it's very easy to get some of those stacks with a Whirlpool. And if you're going to be focusing out Jigz the same way Rival did in that last encounter, those penetration stacks are going to add up very quickly.
Kraken in the mid lane doesn't do much. Wlfy gets hit by a Jingle Bang and removed. Callus could be next on the list. Counter logic game and pincer maneuver Caught off all the angles. Beautiful rotation from them. 2 members of Rival are dead.
It was a 4-on-2. CLG certainly forcing the issue on that one. And this time, Wlfy got off the ultimate before the Nox ultimate. Hold that thought, though. Snoopy looking to play very aggressive, and Jigz right around the corner.
Jigz is there looking for a bit of cleanup if he can. He will get the beads out of Vote, and that's a good little play. But now iceicebaby over here, and Jigz could be in a bit of trouble. Jigz didn't overextend, though, so he should still have his dash. Gonna go for the stun, hit that onto Callus. But the bad news is iceicebaby just drops down the regurgitated minions and picks up the kill.
A little too far forward was Jigz. Did force out the beads, however, so there needs to be a capitalization off of that play. Otherwise, that death would have been for nothing. And Rival, with a pick there, was thinking about maybe aggressing onto that tier 1 tower, but Vote needs to back, finish up those devil gloves to be able to get the lifesteal.
Still fighting the jungle there. Is Deathwalker trying to pull in Mask, but Mask just slips away with the Mink form. As fineokay, using the ultimate for ultimate trade between the solo laners. Blue buff stole him. And when you think about the 2 kills CLG got, they didn't actually get any jungle camps or any advantage there. No Gold Fury taken. They lose Jigz in response and lose a purple. So 2 for 1 and a purple buff to Rival. I don't know who wins that.
It also stops the farming a little bit from Wlfy to be able to get that advantage over Hurriwind. So I don't mind it necessarily. If there's nothing to get, then there's nothing to get at the end of the day. Gold Fury, a little tricky to secure with the composition from CLG this early on.
A lot of focus on this duo lane so far. Vote has a 2-level lead, and round the back is swinging Callus, now looking for a taunt. Catches him! He doesn't get into the water, Snoopy. That cost him his beads. Jigz being forced out, looking a little bit like Half Devil right now. Only difference is he's in position, and now Snoopy's going to take up to maybe come back down.
Now the call is to disengage. Hurriwind not interested any longer, afraid of Wlfy. That was making the rotation as well. So it's going to be a 1-level lead now for Hurriwind as he's still sitting at 1-0-2. That death onto Wlfy slowed down some of the experience.
And now this duo lane lead is actually going to start to make a bit of an impact, I feel. Vote is done well for himself in this lane. Neither him or Snoopy have died, but the experience is important.
It certainly will be important as the game progresses. I like this idea now between these supports. Jigz going for the Stone of Binding, really wanting to set things up with some forms of CC, whereas Callus thinking about being that frontline sponge for his team, going for the Oni Hunter's garb to mitigate a lot of damage.
Just being around more gods gives you the opportunity to get a bit more defense for yourself. A wise idea there. Blue buffs spawning on the right-hand side slowly. Vote getting a little bit ahead of himself, or is he? He's got Wlfy behind him, and also iceicebaby round this side. Another trap being set for CLG, but it looks like CLG may be aware and are now sending Hurriwind over.
Hurriwind walks over not 1 but 2 wards now. iceicebaby going to jump on over. Not going to get rooted as one of those ticks was missed as iceicebaby was jumping. Doesn't seem that CLG are interested in stopping this, though.
No, they're looking for Callus now, and Horrific Emblem's going to cause a problem for Callus. He's pinned in place too. Callus gets a taunt off, and iceicebaby there with the regurgitate to help him out. And Callus will get credit for the kill, I guess, with the defender of Olympus. At the same time, as the Kraken did a lot of work there. 1 for a red buff is the score.
2 ultimates for 2 ultimates. A couple of relics being exchanged as well. Snoopy still without his beads, and I think that could be the target if Rival want to start grouping up in that duo lane, as they certainly seem to do.
Still a lot of potential being paid to this duo lane from both teams so far. Is that where the backbone of this game is going to come from?
It definitely feels that way if you look at the way these 2 hunters have been playing. There's not that much mobility yet from Snoopy. He's still trying to finish off his boots, and that could be one capitalization. There needs to be more wards from CLG underneath their like purple red buff area, because the angle that Rival is approaching them from is not behind the Gold Fury, it's around it.
Is that because of the strategy of seeing where CLG generally place their wards? That could be research that's come into that, because it just seems like they're finding the angles now and again, right?
It very well could be, but most teams do that. It's not just CLG. It's very common if you're a jungler to, you know, take the shortest path to the duo lane, which is going to be behind the Gold Fury. But sometimes if you take an extra 5 seconds and avoid that vision, your game goes from 10% success rate to about like 70%.
Speaking of the ward situation too, there's a lot of sentries there for Rival, but here we go again. Scotland versus Canada, and Canada backs up. Only for a second though, because here comes Master Jigz. Vote going to use the airstrike immediately defensively, and this seems to be the tail of the tape. It's Snoopy on the run, Vote on the run, Snoopy on the run, Vote on the run.
And last time around, it was also iceicebaby that was making that rotation happen with the Defender of Olympus to punish the aggression from CLG, overextending, trying to kill Vote. But a good disengage this time from CLG prevents any sort of return kills.
The problem is with this duo lane though, and the fact it keeps going back and forth like this, it's very telegraphed almost. Vote knows that he's not got people coming over, so he has to dip dip out. Snoopy's doing the same thing. Eventually, teams are going to cotton onto this in terms of what's going on and then change the strategy.
But look at the experience difference between these two hunters. Hold that thought, though, because there's an experience lead difference in the soul lane as well. Deathwalker not able to really keep up with fineokay, and this Wukong for CLG has definitely made its impact, sitting at 1-0-2, part of 100% of the team's kills.
So good news, though, for fineokay to have a 2-level lead over Deathwalker in this lane at the moment. And talking about that level lead, you were mentioning that in the Hunter role as well. Is that down to the fact that when CLG are rotating to that dual lane, it's also when there's farm there?
That's
and so
true.
It means that Snoopy's sharing more.
Yeah, sharing it 3 ways, and last time 4 ways even.
Yep.
That's going to hurt Snoopy in the long run, but at least he's finished off those Transcendent stacks, so his physical power is definitely going to be felt once he starts swinging away. Now working on a penetration item.
3 kills for Rival, 3 kills for CLG. It's only been the Artio to die on the side of Counterlogic Gaming so far, whereas Rival split it apart a little bit. Supports really, truly are the focus of this game so far.
It's not a bad idea. You got to find the kills somehow, right? Get that first blood bounty, which did go towards Wlfy, allowing him to finish off that Spear of the Magus very quickly. Not sure if that's going to be a Chronos Pendant or a Rada Tahuti. Wouldn't be surprised to see either one, honestly.
Meanwhile, back to the dual lane. Vote and Callus getting aggressive, and wards are being placed down as you'd expect. The solo laners, they've been around for a little while, but 2 fan favorites over here, Deathwalker versus fineokay, and I think a lot of people have been looking forward to this matchup.
This is your European/North American content creators between the both of them, being very informative every single time that they stream, making their YouTube video content as well. I think that this is an interesting matchup between the two. Deathwalker's not really too worried being down 2 levels behind because the Baron is not going to get killed anytime soon in the solo lane. And on top of this, it's his team fight presence that's really going to make the impact with life of the party.
You call them content creators, I call them the 2 of the best solo laners that SPL has to offer as well. And it's a good matchup as well. It's always going to be interesting, especially when we don't see Guardian versus Guardian. We got a Warrior versus a Mage.
But I mean, even then, it's still going to be passive lane in the 1v1 category. Deathwalker wants nothing to do playing as a Baron Samedi up against fineokay Wukong, which is why fineokay is using this to his advantage. Once he clears the wave, he's already moving on. He's moving to either proxy farm, which he's doing now between the tier 1 and the tier 2, or looking to get a kill or assist as he's been doing the entire game.
Game 1 still too close to call so far. Wlfy's build coming along a little bit more so. We mentioned he didn't go for a stacking item, but he has invested in the full Rod of Tahuti, an item we don't see too often. However, 150 power is not something to be ignored.
And members of CLG are definitely going to drop below that 50% threshold very quickly. With iceicebaby's Regurgitate Ultimate, Butcher Blade combo, you're looking at just single target focus from Rival, but they can't expend too many abilities onto Jigz the same way they've been doing in the early game, because those abilities need to be spread out on some hyper carry squishies.
We mentioned about the amount of CC in this game. Well, itemization-wise, there's more CC coming. 2 Anciles on the board for Counterlogic Gaming. fineokay and Mask both picking them up. Just to try and cause more problems?
Yeah. Once you dive in Wlfy, if he's going to, panic, drop his Whirlpool at his feet, the silence comes out, no crack.
fineokay might be panicking right about now, but he is the monkey with the escape artist ability. Gets to the sky, ultimate on cooldown. Hurriwind is down, however, as well. And it comes Mask!
Oh, the double knockup from the Kraken, but it does barely any damage. Callus is looking very low as well. He's going to be the second to fall, but the chase is still on. Snoopy looking for the ruin, and he gets Deathwalker.
Deathwalker's under pressure. All the while this is going on, there is no Hunter from Rival because he's on the Gold Fury here. They've lost 3 members so far and may get a tier 1 tower, but in response, Rival do get a Gold Fury at least.
But I think that the Fire Giant is going to be the immediate response from the North Americans, Hindu. They're not interested in the Gold Fury or the tier 2 or the Pyromancer.
18 minutes in, how quick does this go down?
We're about to find out. iceicebaby without Regurgitate Vote does have the airstrike, but I don't know if he'll get here in time.
Love the fact fineokay's zoning iceicebaby away. Vote is on the way, has the airstrike as you mentioned. He gets towards the pit looking for the steal, gets knocked up. CLG get the Fire Giant. Vote still going into the fight as now Callus comes back in, but meanwhile Vote and Iceice just a little bit low in health to continue the pressure.
Double taunt as well, forcing the beats out of Snoopy. CLG walk away cleanly with an 18-minute Fire Giant, Hindu, off of the back of a great engage. Now, they wasted a decent amount of abilities, normal abilities, onto fineokay, force out the ultimate there, and as a result of being that clumped up, Hurriwind hits 3 people with the ultimate.
Yep.
Everyone from Rivals disengaging in the same location through the north side of the right side mid-harpies, and as a result, we're seeing the blink taunt come out through Mask, catching 3 members, and by the time Wlfy throws out his Kraken, he was still debuffed from the Nox ultimate.
And that Nox ultimate, I was going to bring that up, the Night Terror has that debuff that not many people always remember, reducing the damage done by characters affected by for the next 5 seconds after detonation by 40%. And when you think about that's what a Kraken's all about, is that big one shot.
Yep.
40% less, you're going to survive.
Which is why I was confused at the beginning of the game when Hurriwind used his ultimate to give himself CC immunity, I thought, to prevent the Athena taunt. But no, that was to re-engage, knowing that Wlfy still has his ultimate and that the team fight was going to go CLG's way.
Kyle's having a hard time up against Mask so far this game. Mask has really been putting some pressure onto the Athena. After all, though, it is still an Athena. A character that's been in and out of the meta, mainly in the meta for a considerable amount of time this year. And Kalis is definitely one of the best Athena players that there is.
Very true. It's very easy to just constantly look for that engagement and then reset. And in a world of Season 5 Smite where it's difficult to get some Phoenix engagements, you need to be able to find those constant poke battles.
Goes a little bit far forward here, being pressured, and has to use the beast to get away from the signs and the roof from Hurriwind. Pin straight after the fact from Mask causes problems, and Vote did eat pretty much everything there. On the back of that fight, Kraken onto fineokay as Wlfy tries to get away. He gets healed up by Deathwalker, but Snoopy has to Aegis away from iceicebaby. The dash in the wall was good enough to separate that, but this is a fire giant CLG that can't seem to get to the tier 1 just yet.
Snoopy doing a good job surviving, using the Jigz, dashing into the wall, outlasting the regurgitate, and unfortunately for Wlfy, he just can't get anything going because he was focused the entire time by fineokay in the backline. You can tell Vote was perplexed as to where he wanted to land from the airstrike because Wlfy was getting focused on the back, but in the front side, everybody was just so low from CLG after iceicebaby engaged.
CLG are the ones that are supposed to have a power play here with the Fire Giant, but Rival are doing a good job of keeping them sustained as much as possible, or at least pushed back. And now, and again, getting a bit aggressive as you saw Kalis dashing in there. This tier 1 tower has minions there now, but the dance between the tier 1 and tier 2 around buffs is what it's all about for now.
It's so risky to try to defend this tier 1 tower. For 500 gold at 21 minutes, just give this up, but you gotta look for the fight at the tier 2. Rival are barely down any gold. It's only actually them being up 1,500 gold, so if anything, CLG need to worry about how they're going to aggress.
Ultimates and relics, very important here. Calyx with the taunt on to Jigz. Meanwhile, Deathwalker ate way more damage than bargained for. Kalis CC'd in place, but not going to really stop the Athena on the front line. Jigz, however, not back in and Kraken by Wlfy. The first casualty is CLG. fineokay has to now turn tail and hit that eagle form. Hurriwind is the last man at the back, but he dashes away to safety. Rival only lose a tier 1 tower in the mid and in the left-hand side, while CLG had that fire giant.
Tier 1 tower goes down in the dual lane, and that's pretty much an unsuccessful fire giant for CLG. You would definitely want more out of that late game buff, which allows you 20% extra structure damage, but the problem was that all 5 members of Rival were up, healthy, all available relics, all available ultimates, and the reasoning why CLG were not able to get anything going was because of the patience from Rival. CLG was looking to bait out a team fight between the mid lane and the left side dual lane, setting up a couple of traps on the red and the purple buff, but Rival never took the bait. They were so patient and methodical about how they approached that situation.
Just keep watching and realizing that Counterlog Gaming have only had one person die in this game, and that's Jigz. And a support dying isn't the be-all and end-all of the world. He stayed relatively even in levels to Kalis, who is his opposition. But the rest of the team undying so far, and I think some of that credit is to the builds they've gone for.
That's true. I think that Wlfy, once he gets like maybe an obsidian shard, no, hold that thought though, he's actually working on a ring instead.
Possibly Shaman's here?
Yeah, possibly, but we're going to see as they approaches, because Gold Fury very low, being reset by CLG.
Wow, just look at the respect from CLG there. iceicebaby just watched that happen. And CLG took it the safer option to back away. They do have control of the Gold Fury pit with the oracles there, though, so they're not too worried about it. And now go back to it again. fineokay's going to put pressure in mid lane. but everyone's a bit unchecked in the jungle as the army of rivals start to arrive on the scene of the crime.
Look at fineokay though in the back line. There goes the taunt onto Jigz. Whirlpool Kraken doing so much damage.
But Jig's still alive for now and trying to get away, and will do so from Deathwalker. On the back of this fight though, Vote is under pressure and so is iceicebaby. fineokay slams down on Wlfy and forces him back. Does manage to get the Whirlpool out. Callus will dash away to safety too, but in comes Snoopy.
Snoopy's gonna land, gets taunted, but no follow-up from Rival. They're all too busy running away. Gold Fury does go down at the end of the day, but CLG with a nice pick could go for the Fire
Now
Giant.
they're trying to find more. Deathwalker's an awkward spot, pinned from all angles. Hurriwind silence and root. Good enough for Mass to get onto a killing spree now. 8-4. Counter Logic Gaming are slowly but surely winning this game.
Overcommit onto Jigz. He survived with about 20% health. No real follow-up from Rival. They all needed to disengage. iceicebaby was not winning the 1v1 up against Mask. He needed to disengage at the end of the day, and this is where CLG's control is starting to become an issue for Rival.
Pyromancer goes down too, and now a bit more mobility for the team and a little bit of extra gold in the coffers. CLG now have the official gold lead for the first time this game, I'd say. Vote trying to answer some of that back with a tier 1 tower of his own on the left-hand side. Biggest issue I've noticed though, Toli, is that some Wukong and Erlang Shen have been able to get to Poseidon time and time again and cause problems for Wlfy. And the composition that Rival have drafted here isn't great on peeling for their teammates.
Well, I mean, that's one way to deal with it, right? Force an ultimate before a team fight. iceicebaby forced to disengage away, and a lot of it also comes down to Wlfy being unprotected because Callus dash taunts in. And once that happens, who's going to peel? Deathwalker uses his life of the party trying to kill Jigz, but the bear dash is able to get him out of the range of the pull, and the rest of the team fight goes the way of CLG with the self-sustain from Jigz coming back into the fight. Deathwalker gets caught out between that tier 1, tier 2 tower. He looks one way, he's like, all right, I have nowhere to go. I'm stuck. You got me, guys.
Well, CLG going to go back to the left-hand side, and North American fans out there might be having a bit of a wry smile on their face now, as Rival are looking a little bit disturbed by how things are going on. The faces on the cams, you can see, quite serious and happy with the performances so far. Clearly, CLG have come to play.
Definitely have, but they still need to be tested in these Phoenix Sieges. It's not an easy task to go up against Wlfy on this Poseidon. And keep in mind, whoever's going to go in from CLG, if the backline's unprotected, iceicebaby is just going to feed all day.
And this is what Rival are doing, though. They're trying to slow this down as much as possible. Their defense is probably one of the best defenses in the league for at least slowing teams down and making it difficult to get to even the base in the first place. In goes Mask straight away, fineokay too. Wlfy and Vote lost half their health to Hurriwind's ult alone. They're both forced out of the fight. fineokay's already there, and in comes Snoopy to claim the life of Wlfy.
Kraken onto 2. Snoopy uses the Aegis. Deathwalker's getting chased down by Snoopy. That is a Chernobog Hunter diving a Phoenix.
Beautiful play from Counter Logic Gaming. They are in control of this game. They should be able to win this off now, because every time Rival have tried to make something happen, CLG have just closed the door in the face.
This could be an end if they really want to try to go for it instead of going for the towers and the Phoenixes. Titan is not at the most vulnerable form. It will be a little tricky because look where iceicebaby is.
Going towards Hurriwind, round the back. Vote comes in too, but Vote knocked up and dead by Mask. In the meanwhile, iceicebaby doesn't exist much. That's game 1. CLG NA on the board.
Oh my goodness. CLG looking reinvigorated. Look at them. Just so happy now after they won game 1, but they know that it's going to take more than just that in this best of 3 set. You got one, CLG. Can you get another?
Absolutely solid performance from that team, though, overall. Everything that seems to... Any potential issues seem to be answered immediately. The ganks and duo lane consistent from both teams, one way or the other, went even throughout. Only person that really died in that game was Jigz, and
That's true.
Artio is to be expected.
This Nox pick was very disruptive, I think, that Rival were not really prepared for it. I'm not sure if Mask is shaking from winning that game or just shaking because he can't lift himself up from that chair, but at the end of the day, you know he's feeling himself after that game.
Looks a little shell-shocked there, Alpha Jackal. I think he didn't expect that performance out of CLG, but this is a team of CLG that we've seen throughout the whole year, and previous years, these players been around a very long time, but they've never been able to put it together. What time better than to put it together now?
Absolutely. Even going through the tiebreaker situation with Trifecta to wrap things up in the online portion didn't go their way, actually. So it's curious to see how they've made this transition into the LAN environment, and LAN is a different ball game than online.
So looking back over that game, what do you do? What's the difference? What does Rival need to change?
Okay, so focusing out Jigz is good in the first like 5 to 10 minutes, but it's got to be a different story. Look for those backline penetrations onto somebody else. Vote couldn't really do anything at the end of the game there once he got clipped by that Hurriwind ultimate.
Well then, that's it for game 1. Counterlogic Gaming take it. Can they do 2 in a row? Let's fasten the desk.
A big win for CLG, and North America might be feeling a little bit better right now, but that job is not done, at least not entirely. No one, I feel like, better at bouncing back than this rival team. So CLG are almost there, but not all the way. What did you like that you saw from CLG here, Taco?
Huge credit to Hurriwind with that Nox gameplay. I think that those silences were just as problematic as what we were concerned about initially looking at that pickup to begin with. It just felt like a lot of Rivals counter initiation that they tried to go for with iceicebaby dropping the Baka Regurgitate and Wlfy's Kraken never really came to light outside of a couple odd picks at the start of the game.
And a lot of that came to Hurriwind dropping that ultimate right before those Krakens were hitting almost every single time. And then in that very last fight under the tier 2 tower, we saw it chunk for half of both of the carries' HP. And then it just started slowly ticking down, and fineokay running forward, getting the last little bits they needed for the kill.
And I want to give some credit to Mask. I believe it was him that kind of set it up with the blink into the taunt, and then Hurriwind's able to follow up on the back end. I loved this Chernobog play as well from Snoopy. That allowed him to avoid some Kraken several times. But I mean, this Erlang Shen, this is why the pick is continually highly valued, right? Because there's so many big plays that you're able to make when you're on it. And Mask absolutely put that on display here with multiple taunts just like that, and then the big follow-up damage.
And it's not like Rival weren't responding at all to this Erlang. There were definitely numerous occasions where they would try to find a workaround. It's just that you have to worry about the rest of CLG then coming in to collapse you. If anything, this was actually a relatively quiet game from CLG solo laner. fineokay didn't really seem like he was having all that much of an impact with the Wukong. He was kind of just there as an extra, it was just a punching bag. He's willing to absorb all of the blows, and it worked out really well for CLG in the end.
And it worked out especially well for him in the early game, getting those big rotations early off that really had a meaningful impact to it. They were either getting kills, they were preventing themselves from dying. Most importantly, he was never losing out on farm. At one point, 14 minutes into the game, he was 2 levels up on Deathwalker. He was level 16 at that point. Yeah, it's a true testament to being a solo laner able to make those multiple early rotations and still stay that far ahead of your opponent.
Also, when CLG were able to acquire that first Fire Giant, I think that kind of put a halt to the momentum that Rival had started to build up, because Rival were the ones who were actually out in front leading the charge. They had the experience lead, they had the gold lead underway, but it just came to a sudden halt after that first FG was claimed. And it's not like CLG was even able to really capitalize off of it either. They took what I believe a T1. I don't even think they ended up getting the T1 after that first shove. It was more so the team fights that followed where it felt a little bit better coordinated there from CLG.